What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. Two important updates that I came across. One, the New York Jets have hired the 33rd team to help conduct their GM and head coach search. Now, this is interesting because this isn't necessarily a consulting firm, right? This isn't the Charlie Casserly search that we had back during the Adam Gase tenure. This is I guess technically they're classified as a media team, right? But they're composed of a bunch of former NFL personnel. So former GMs, some head coach guys thrown in the mix. I think I heard Buffalo say when he dug up some things like ex-NFL referees and such. And then in general, NFL analysts, et cetera, right? So a pretty well-rounded team of individuals with different expertises along the NFL realm. So while hearing that is 33rd team, that's intriguing. I have read a lot of their articles over the years, and there are a lot of good insights in there. Even if you do see some of the craziness in the media, specifically from Mike Tannenbaum is one of the two, which Mike Tannenbaum, former Jets GM, and Rick Spielman, former Vikings GM, they're going to be the guys that are spearheading this. And according to what I was able to dig up earlier, it looks like their prime responsibilities are going to be providing hiring data, vet candidates, performing reference checks, and then acting as a sounding board to owner Woody Johnson and Chris Johnson as it relates to who they view as being the ideal candidate for our spot. Now, I like this move more than I expected, right? If you think about it in just the bare bones principle of it all, we are essentially having a GM panel conduct the search for our next GM. And I think anytime you have that kind of environment, right, even in a real world, regular 9-to-5 type job, right, if you're looking to become a manager or a VP for whatever you're doing, you as the company probably would want to have somebody that's already been in that role conducting the search, or a higher level, right, a CEO or something like that, that knows, essentially what's going down below in order to conduct that search. So to me, this is huge. Even if the two names may not be the most ideal, right? I think most people would give Mike Tannenbaum flack just because he's had a lot of craziness, but I listened to a lot of different podcasts that Rick Spielman was visiting during the last draft cycle and kind of his thoughts on looking and evaluating at a lot of these guys, and even a lot of the thoughts that he shared about other GMs and some of the jobs that he's seen them do, or commentary about, kind of meet and greet functions and just chopping it up with some of these other GMs currently on NFL teams, and, his thoughts are, right? So I think you have two different personalities, Rick Spielman being definitely the stronger one, the more blunt and direct kind of guy, and then you have Mike Tannenbaum, who may be a little bit more laid back, maybe a little bit more charismatic, right? So you kind of get this mix of the best of both worlds, and I think it could present a good way of fine tuning what the criteria should be that Woody Johnson and team are looking for. Now, the only thing that concerns me, right, is that will they have a stronger preference to somebody that's in a assistant GM role versus somebody that may be in a director player personnel position, right? Or maybe somebody that's already in a vice president of football operations or director of football operations type role, like we discussed with Seahawks Matt Berry, for example. I don't think there's gyms, right? Going from point A to point B, if you have somebody that already is effectively performing a lot of the duties, it's a lot easier to project how you think they'll work out, as opposed to somebody that's 2 levels lower than doing what you expect to promote them for. So I understand that aspect, but also if a guy goes in there, he's extremely confident, he's bringing in a level of charisma, a level of energy that's infectious and makes you want to buy into whatever vision he's presenting during these interviews, I don't want us to necessarily disregard them or never even have said guy in the building. Again, I would look at the Lions organization, for example. I would look at the Seahawks. I would want to look at the Chiefs. I would want to look at any of these teams that have really been dominant or performing above expectations for the majority of this last decade, in order to hopefully right the ship, right? We have a prime opportunity here where we should have a new head coach, a new GM, and a new quarterback leading the way, whether that's coming via draft, whether that's allowing Tyrod Taylor to be the bridge quarterback for Jordan Travis, or if, again, we draft a quarterback, whatever that looks like. You effectively have the trifecta of a clean slate. Everybody on the same timeline, everybody understanding the expectations. There's no risk of this guy's making long-term moves, this guy's making short-term moves. Everybody knows what it is, and coming off of the way that we fired our GM and head coach, everybody knows the urgency in which we expect for this thing to get turned around. So all I really want is, again, the confidence in somebody that's also going to take the draft serious, right? I don't want us to try to rebuild or open up a playoff window right out of the gate via free agency. But that leads me into the second piece. Now, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I've seen a lot of updates recently. There was the rumors that the New York Jets may cut or release him in season. There were the rumors that he won't return next year, even though, or the New York Jets don't care for him to return next year, even though he may still want to play. And then I seen more rumors coming out that those rumors were overblown. Aaron Rodgers and the Woody Johnson, they've had dinner maybe approximately a month ago, 3 weeks, something like that, kind of discussing a lot of the failures of the season as well. The reports go on to say that they were on the same page. But what I'm more intrigued in is kind of what could be a built-in semi-excuse, right? This was supposed to be the year where no stone was left unturned, multiple trades, Aaron Rodgers healthy. If we failed, everybody was getting gutted, and Aaron Rodgers even cited as much during his own interviews. But there was some rumors that recently came out that Aaron Rodgers has picked up, or we know that he suffered multiple injuries throughout the season, the hamstring, the ankle, both knees, I believe it was. And I remember him jacking his hand up, and he might have had a shoulder issue as well. He's been refusing scans that may give the true extent of these injuries that he's been suffering with. And that, to me, is more interesting than anything else that's going on about whether he returns or not. Excuse me. One, I'm not sure what the inner workings of the NFL looks like, but as long as they list the injuries, I guess there's not necessarily an issue with medical treatment unless the player raises one, right? So in this case, if he's refusing, then I guess that's just where you leave the issue at. But knowing that he's run into more health concerns, right? And that, yes, he tried to fight through it if these rumors are true, which also I didn't get a chance to fully watch this, but I've seen a snip or something that came from Jeff Ulbrich that mentioned he's not aware of Aaron Rodgers skipping out on any scans, but I don't know, lip service or something, whatever you want to call it. Either way, that could be one of the final nails in the coffin, right? He understood that he wasn't performing the way he wanted to, thought he could get it turned around. The injuries were more severe than expected. And I think when you look at a lot of those games, when you look at the opportunity for him to have tried to escape a couple sacks, a couple pressures, and it just looked like he either didn't completely see them coming or he had no intention to really move, and that could have been a byproduct of having those hamstring and knee issues, the ankle issues, right? To where he was hoping to just be able to delete the other team from the pocket. That wasn't the case. So the way I look at it is ultimately it changes nothing, right? Aaron Rodgers tried to pull out all the stops to turn around the season, and he wasn't ever able to get that done. So if he does plan on playing in 2025, I do expect it to be for some other kind of team, just purely for the fact that if you're going to have a clean slate, make sure you clean off the full plate, right? Don't leave scraps and bones and fish scales and all this other stuff on there, trying to cling on to something that isn't going to work. So I don't know. Ultimately, I'm curious if they decide to shut him down at all. I know Ulbrich also mentioned that's not really going to be the case, but I wonder if at some point maybe he submits and says, all right, if I do want to play in 2025, I got to start working on getting healthy now. Goes for the scans, they find out he has some tears or something like that, and then they sit him in favor of Tyrod. But at this point, we're really kind of in limbo, right? There's little to no positives in any moves we can make. Personnel moves, roster changes, etc., because the staff won't be in place, the front office won't be in place. You don't know what kind of schemes you're working with, so at this point, just play the young guys that you can just so they can get experience. That may be the only silver lining here, right? And hopefully some of that experience crosses over into whoever we decide to pick for the next head coach or whoever gets picked for the next DCOC spots, etc. But a lot of intrigue here, right? I think ultimately, though, I'm looking at this as a positive overall, right? Not to keep harping on this theme of a clean slate, but it'll be nice to just know that we're truly starting from ground zero once again, which I feel like technically was kind of the case with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, but there really should be no strings attached if we do it right this time. And at least we're not fully trusting Woody Johnson within this process to himself. So let me know what you guys think. Do you have any other GM head coach candidates that you would expect based on Tannenbaum and Spielman leading this? And then any thoughts you guys have on Aaron Rodgers, of course. And by the way, I'll update the playlist so that you guys can just find all of the GM and head coach breakdowns I've done in one section for you. But other than that, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you again. Peace.